So, I was invited to an opening of Cinnabar in Las Vegas last night, and by the way, not bad. I've actually performed Rocky in a Cinnabar before, and back in Charleston, and it's a lot fancier than it used to be, but a lot of the charm is still there. I'm curious to see how it operates when it's like fully open, which I think it opened today. I don't know. I don't pay attention to things. Anyway, I'm on my third cup of coffee for this morning, which means everything's going to come out at once, so we need to get through this real fast. Bumblebee. That's the movie. I was given two choices, either Aquaman or Bumblebee. Chose Bumblebee. Pretty good choice overall. Long story short, Bumblebee is it's young, dumb, and full of fun. It's a very, if you're used to Michael Bay and his much more kind of teenage-centric, kind of late teens, early 20s-centric Transformers movies, you are either going to be really disappointed if you love those, which that's weird, or you'll be very pleasantly surprised because this is very much a family film. Bumblebee is directed by Travis Knight, who you may know as the director of Kubo and the what was it? Kubo and the Two Strings. He was also the lead animator on Paranorman and The Box Trolls, which The Box Trolls is one of the few movies I've given a 5 out of 5 to on my little Letterboxd account. So I like Travis Knight. Travis Knight's a cool guy. I've seen some behind the scenes stuff with him where he seems to really love the material, and you know, it comes out. This feels like a film made by someone who loves Transformers and who wants to make a movie for the whole family. And I think that that's something that the Transformers movies really needed. It's very stupid. There's a lot of plot holes, there's logic issues, there's some weird editing here and there, but overall, it feels like a family adventure movie from the 80s. It has some like kind of strangely adult moments where they kind of undermine it by doing something kind of silly. And you'll know when the Decepticons kill a couple people, and when they do, you'll notice it's a little weird and kind of dumb, but it feels very much in line with what you might have seen in a movie back in the day made for families that needed a little bit of that extra violence. This would be, like in the 80s, this would be a straight PG. Easy. It's violent, but it's not particularly violent. Like, it's very for the kids, and I like that. I think the Transformers, the biggest problem is that, you know, it's this series of movies based on a car, like a toy car commercial. You know, it's just one big toy commercial, and that doesn't need to have whatever the fuck Michael Bay did. And by the way, I like Michael Bay. I'm actually a big Michael Bay fan. I think that he is an amazing visual director. He has his flaws, oh boy does he, and his Transformers movies are not my favorites of his work by a big stretch. But I like the guy a lot as a filmmaker. Transformers, he can never quite get right. And I feel like bringing on this new blood and trying to essentially soft reboot the franchise was the right way to do things. And it's an impressive piece of work. It's not something that I'm gonna it's not gonna be stuck in my memory for a while. It's definitely not the most memorable film of all time, but it's at least more of a good, let's call it wholesome time than I was otherwise expecting from a Transformers movie. I think that the genuineness of the film is really what sells me, because the movie takes place in the mid-80s and is very, very it's filled to the brim with nostalgia. There's just constant references, Alf, I know Pop-Tarts aren't really a 80s reference, but Pop-Tarts in a weird way. All the music in the film, like the clothes they wear, everything just is so drenched in 80s nostalgia. Even the goddamn plot structure feels like an 80s nostalgia attempt. And I think it works because it is so genuine in the way that it presents this material. A lot of it, I think, comes down to the plot structure. It's very much, as I said, that film from the 80s. Like, there's a lot of beats that just feel like, oh yeah, that's what you would do in an 80s flick. And that is filtered through the Hollywood formula. It's not like an exact match or anything, but the way that it's filmed, it's not trying to be too flashy. It's very, very much not a Michael Bay movie. It's very traditional in the way that it's shot for the most part. And, you know, it trusts us to understand what Transformers are. There's not really a lot of explanation as to what's going on. We literally open on a battle in Cybertron, or on Cybertron, and afterwards we just have essentially 3 Transformers. There's more than that, but when it comes right down to it, the majority of the action is 3 Transformers versus Michael Bay's movies, which were 87 Transformers in a scene. I don't remember, but it's very pared down. It's very simple. There's not really any huge surprises. The fights are kind of, as far as giant robots go, down and dirty. You have just a very old school feel. And I think that really sells the nostalgia factor, and I think it's exactly what the Transformers series needed. And I think Bumblebee, for all of its flaws, and there's plenty of them, is the exact right direction for Transformers as a franchise. I think if they keep going this way, if they keep with Allspark Pictures, or whatever the fuck it's called, they're gonna have another winner on their hands, and it's gonna be better than before. And again, I like Michael Bay. This was not his franchise. And now that he's just overseeing it from like a on-high capacity and not down in the grit and telling people to fucking do this while snorting coke, perfect. That's exactly what we need. As far as the cast goes, Haley Steinfeld is great as Charlie, our protagonist. She is very likable. She feels like the rest of the movie, very genuine. She definitely has, I think, when I was talking about the structure, everything has a clear arc in the movie. And part of that, like, sometimes that arc can feel a little forced. There's definitely, when she has a background as a diver, like a high diver, and the way that comes back around feels very silly, but at the same time, it is necessary for her character growth. And while it could have been a bit more, I don't know, subtle, it's also a kid's movie, and I can appreciate, at least when a movie is tightly written. This is a very tightly written film. Everything comes back around, all the beats come back around, as they should for this kind of thing. I'm all for experimentation, obviously, but for a big Hollywood flick, you do need a certain level of grounded screenwriting, and this is very much that. It's very streamlined. But Haley Steinfeld is a great protagonist. We like her. She's fun. She's reasonably deep and deals with some very serious issues that some children or teenagers, whatever, might have to deal with. She does feel like she's written a little younger than she is, because she's supposed to be just 18, and she does feel like she's like, I don't know, 15 or 16 at times, but, you know, she makes it work. The only other real 3 people I should mention real quick are Angela Bassett and Justin Theroux play the main villains, and they're so good. I was really thinking, based on the trailers, I thought that Starscream was going to be in this. I was wrong. That's okay. What we get instead are Dropkick and Shatter, which I'm not really aware of those characters just because I'm not the biggest Transformers fan in the world. But they are menacing. They're fun. Angela Bassett specifically just nails it, is so good in her role, and the design for her Decepticon is really good. It's kind of a mix between Bay-formers and more traditional Transformers. The rest of the Transformers are super traditional. You've seen in the trailers, Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, they all look much more pared down than they used to, and that's great. I mean, it works with that whole nostalgic feel. And then finally, there's John Cena, who kind of finally makes a heel turn, I guess. It's weird. He's very much the conflicted villain. And it's weird because the way that the film's edited, I didn't notice something very important about his character until much later, because there is some setup in the beginning, and then a character disappears, and as far as I could tell, unless there was like a shot that I just didn't comprehend or what, but a character just disappears, and after a while you're like, oh, that's why he's so angry. And I don't know, I didn't notice it until over halfway through the film. I was like, oh yeah, that dude's not here anymore. Oh! So he has an interesting character arc. You probably know where it's gonna go. It's not a full heel turn like we were all hoping for. I assume we were all hoping for. But it is nice to see him play a sort of bad guy for a while. And, he's John Cena. He's full of charisma. He's not particularly like scary or anything, but he doesn't need to be, because we have Shatter for that. It's another fun performance. I really want John Cena to be in like bigger roles in bigger movies, so this is a great step toward that. I'm a big John Cena fan. Because, well, you know.
And his name is John Cena!
Anyway, I wanted to keep this short. Bumblebee is not necessarily the best film in the Transformers series, per se. That's very much subjective. I think there is still an argument to be made for the first Transformers film being slightly better as a film. But as a Transformers movie, Bumblebee is without a doubt the best in the franchise. If you love Transformers, if you love really good family-friendly movies that don't treat you like an asshole, Bumblebee is where it's at. So definitely check it out when it's released. I don't actually, tomorrow. Check it out tomorrow. Or when, you know, unless you're seeing this in like 2020, and then, you know, go check out that Blu-ray if you somehow haven't watched Bumblebee yet. Okay, let's roll the end.